had just brought my son home from the hospital. The Masters was playing softly on the TV in the background, and I sat on the couch, my son asleep on my chest. And I looked to my left, my then husband asleep, and then to my right, my mom also asleep. And I'm sitting there, wide awake, exhausted. And I'm staring at the screen blankly thinking, why am I the only one awake? Aren't they supposed to be helping me? This is it? This is motherhood? I felt so lost in those early days. I loved my son fiercely, but I didn't recognize myself anymore. My body felt foreign. My mind was in survival mode. And I had no roadmap for finding me again. It got me thinking, how many of us bought into this unspoken theory that once you became a mom, your story sort of ends right there? Yeah. That was it, right? Women talk about this all the time, their pre-baby life, pre-baby body, reminiscing on all the things they used to do before kids, as if those parts of us just disappeared the moment we became a mom. For a while, I bought into it too. I thought motherhood was about putting my needs on the back burner. This little life, I told myself, this little baby, that's all that mattered now. But even then, deep down I knew something wasn't right. This was the beginning of my awakening, but the real turning point would come 6 months later. On October 21st, 2016, a date etched in my memory, it was the day my marriage dissolved. I had told him 6 weeks earlier, if you ever put your hands on me again, I'll leave. You'll never see me again. And I meant it. Yeah. I hoped he'd hear me, really listen, and he wouldn't make that same mistake twice. But 6 weeks to the day, he did it again. With his hands gripped around my throat, my son strapped to my chest. I pushed him off, stunned. And I said, you just ended our marriage. In that moment, I knew it was over. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. And I walked. I gathered what I could into 2 black trash bags and headed toward safety. I ended up in a battered women's shelter, thousands of miles from family and any sense of security I once knew. In fairness, my mom offered to have us come back to Atlanta, back to a place that would feel familiar and a time that would surely feel uncertain, but I chose to stay. I thought, why should I have to go because he couldn't hold up his end? Why should my son and I have to uproot because of his actions? I chose to stay. I decided I was going to find myself again and rebuild right where I was. I wanted to do this for my son, but I needed to do it for me. At that point, I had nothing. Well, half a master's degree in elementary education, which that teaching job was not going to be enough to support me and my son in the state of New Jersey. I had to pivot fast. I was at rock bottom, guys. I had no roadmap, no safety net, just grit and a little boy who depended on me. Fitness had always sort of been in my DNA. I was a gymnast my whole life. All through college, I was coaching now for over a decade. So I reached out to a girlfriend who suggested I apply to a local fancy box gym. I wasn't even certified, and it was a long shot. But I applied, and I told myself, failure wasn't an option. That belief would become my mantra. After fumbling through 2 interviews, I was hired. And while I was grateful, it was just the beginning. Every day, I juggled 2 jobs, training clients from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., then coaching gymnastics until 9. Then I would put my son to sleep, and then I would study for my certification. Each session was more than just helping that client. I was helping myself too. Because with every new client, I was one step closer to leaving my second job and creating more time and financial freedom for me and my son. I ramped to full-time in just 4 months. That process usually takes about 6 to 8, and I did it during the summer too, which is a gym's slow season, right? Empty schedules, everyone on vacation, didn't slow me down. Failure was not an option. And when I reached full-time status, I made the bold move to leave my coaching job, the only job I'd ever known. And I not only doubled my time, but my income with that one decision. Woo! That leap was the first step into the life I'm living today. Every time I looked at my son, I thought, failure is not an option. It wasn't just a phrase, it was a mindset I had to lean into every day. I had to just take one step at a time, even when I had no idea where it would lead. The first skill I honed in on was focus. I couldn't afford to focus on the things I lacked: time, resources, support. Instead, I shifted my focus to what was possible. That's when the real momentum started to build. The second skill was resilience. Go ahead. I see you, thanks. At the time, I didn't even know I was developing it. Those early morning sessions and late night studying after my son was long asleep, it was just survival to me. But looking back, I could see that I was proving to myself, I can fucking do this. Yeah. Stepping into that gym wasn't just about landing a job. It was a lifeline, the beginning of a new chapter. And now, 8 years on the other side, I run my own business, I own my own home, my own car, and I clear 6 figures. That wasn't luck. That was taking one action and keeping it going every single day. That's exactly what I encourage my clients to do. Show up one step at a time. And so can you. When you prioritize your health, you're putting yourself first. Whether it's waking up early to work out or setting a time to meal prep, you're saying to yourself, I am worth it and I'm committed. And that commitment affects everything. You've heard the saying, no one's coming to save you. I was living that reality every day, and it almost broke me. But I kept saying, failure is not an option. Every decision, every action was guided by that belief. As I started taking care of my body, fitting workouts in between schedules and hectic clients, I started to feel stronger, more empowered, more in control. That confidence started rippling into every area of my life. My son and I moved out of my friend's guest bedroom into a 1-bedroom apartment, from a 1-bedroom apartment to a 2-bedroom, and so on. I wasn't surviving anymore, guys. I was thriving. When I chose to stay in New Jersey and reclaim my life, I realized something important. I was writing my story. I could change it. And here's the truth. Transformation isn't about some dramatic thing that you do overnight. It's literally that one small, consistent action and keeping it going. That's where the strength is built. Think about this, guys. What's one thing you could prioritize for yourself today? Just one. Choose it. Visualize that. Stick to it for 30 days. Now look back and see how far you've come. Do you feel that version of yourself? Stronger, more powerful, unstoppable. She's already in there, and she's waiting for you. My story isn't about perfection. It's not about having it all. It's about showing up for myself when it's tough. It's about believing you're capable of so much more than even you think. And I knew that little guy was counting on me, but really, I was counting on me. When I walked into that battered women's shelter, I was barely clearing $30,000 a year, which is above poverty, but below livable wages. And now, look at me. I'm on the stage at Harvard, grateful as ever, sharing my story with all of you. You are the author of your story, no one else. And just like any great journey, yours will have challenges. But here's the thing, that's where your true strength lies. So if I could offer you anything, don't wait for Monday, the new year, the perfect moment, because it doesn't exist. Pick one thing, commit to it, and take that step. Commit to one small thing that moves you closer to the life you know you're meant to live. And when it gets tough, remember this. Every step you're taking is proving to yourself that you're more powerful than you think. I mean, come on, you're already a mom. Thank you.